What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for PlayPicks.com. Already week 5 in the NFL. Can you believe that it is already week 5 in the NFL? It's kind of depressing whenever you think about it, but we are here coming off of a good week 4. If you watched this video last week, a lot of our plays did pretty damn well, if I do say so myself, coming off a 213-point cash lineup that was good for every 50-50 and double up and won about 77% in head-to-heads last week. So hopefully keeping that momentum going here this week. If you watched, you were on pretty much the same plays I was. I mean, a lot of people in the big field double ups and 50-50s that I were in had the exact same lineup that I did. I think if you built the construction a certain way around a few players, it kind of led you to the same build that I had. And yeah, it was a good one. 213, a little over 213. So that was good to make us some money. Looking here, Millionaire Maker back up to $20 this week over on DraftKings. $4 million, of course, and $1 million to first place. The play action, $3, $1.7 million. Let's talk about a couple of the tournaments that I really like to play. My beloved slant is back. Last week it was gone away because of the $10 Millie Maker, but here we are. The beloved slant is back yet again. $500K guaranteed with a $50K first prize, just $9 to enter, and a nice flat payout. Min cash is 2x your money, so everything to really love about this $500K slant. I love this tournament. I think you should get in on that tournament as well. Love these single entry tournaments as well. Talked about that last week, so just be sure you get in on these things. This one's not going to, no worry about this one filling up, but you know, like the Spy, nearly halfway full right here on a Friday afternoon. So if you mess around, you might not get into that one. $100 buy-in, but $30K to first and only 2,200 people that you got to beat in that thing. Coming down a little bit further, like this Red Zone tournament as well, another single entry, $50. That one's about half full as well, so you want to make sure you can get in on that. And this nickel for the for your bankroll, listen, 3 entry max with a $5 $150,000 guaranteed, so you're not facing guys putting in 150 lineups or anything like that in that one. So certainly something, if I were you guys, I would be getting in on that. And of course the single entry Spy right here, $3 and 100K guaranteed in that one. So those are the tournaments I really like. Certainly like to get in on those things. We'll click on my beloved slant as we go into the tournament lobby here, taking a look at everything that we have going on this week in week 5 of the NFL. We'll start at the quarterback position. Ben Roethlisberger coming in as the most expensive quarterback of the week, $6,900 for him. If you pay attention to football, you know home Big Ben is a thing and road Big Ben is a thing. Home Big Ben against Atlanta is a very good thing, hence the most expensive price tag on the slate this week. I'm still going to have exposure to Ben this week for sure. I just don't think it's necessary actually to get him in your cash games. I think that there's quarterbacks that have similar projections for me that aren't going to cost you quite as much, but certainly in play, I will have game stacks of that Pittsburgh-Atlanta game for sure. So definitely want to take a look at Big Ben in tournaments. Going down a little bit further here, I mean, listen, Rivers, Ryan, both fine plays. I think Ryan is a nice little leverage play off of Roethlisberger. I think he will be much higher owned. But, you know, of course, if Roethlisberger goes off, then Matt Ryan's going to have to be throwing the ball. So Matt Ryan could be a nice little way to jump up there. Certainly much lower ownership than Ben Roethlisberger is going to have. Jared Goff, fine play, don't get me wrong. I just don't like that I don't have a receiver that I can count on for him. He distributes the ball so well to all 3 of his receivers and to Todd Gurley. So they have great games. They just never have that monster game that whenever you're stacking with these guys that you need to have that receiver have, you know, a monster game to take down these big GPPs. I mean, you know, you could certainly get away with playing Goff in some of the smaller field stuff for sure, and one of his receivers and whatnot, to where you don't have to beat tens of thousands of people to win a GPP. But yeah, just not for me, not my type of play. Cam, on the other hand, is, because you can play Cam naked and not really have to worry about it. He does so much with his legs. I mean, already this year, Cam, rushing games of 58 yards, 42 yards, 36 yards. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year so far, going up against this Giants team where I think the Carolina at home is going to beat down this Giants team. So Cam coming off a bye as well, so sometimes a little bit under-owned when that situation happens. So Cam, certainly a play that I'm going to be looking at this week. We'll have him in tournaments for sure. Not going to play Mahomes going up against Jacksonville. Listen, it's not that I think Mahomes won't get his. It's just one of those things where what's his actual ceiling against Jacksonville? Because we need ceiling games to win tournaments and as far as cash games go, I just like some of these cheaper guys better. So I think he has a fine floor, of course, but at the end of the day, if I can get the same floor for cheaper, that's where I'm going to go with that. So Mahomes is fine if you want to kind of go against the grain here, but for me, I just don't think there's that ceiling you need to win GPP, so I won't be on him in tournaments. I actually like Cam a good bit better, actually, than Mahomes this week when it comes to GPPs. The guy I love the most, though, in GPPs, right here, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins on the road at Philadelphia. This is one of those scenarios where Philadelphia has a very good run defense and not so great in pass defense so far this season. And wouldn't you know it, Minnesota has a banged-up running back. Dalvin Cook is questionable in this game. I mean, they played him last week. They kind of had him on a pitch count. If he goes this week, it's going to be the same thing. So for me, they're going to be throwing the ball a ton is the way I have this game playing out. And take a look at Kirk Cousins here. When you take a look at old Kirk and you look at these game logs, look at these attempts. I mean, 48 attempts, 55 attempts, and 50 attempts. He is going to throw the ball 50 times in this game for sure. So for me, Kirk Cousins, a guy I'm going to be looking at and certainly am going to have some decent exposure to in tournaments. So going to have me some Kirk Cousins this week, absolutely. Coming down a little bit further here, Matthew Stafford, guy that I'm really considering for cash this week. Only 5,700 at home against Green Bay. If you want to look at the statistics historically against Green Bay, he has been amazing. He's also averaging over 300 yards per game so far this year. Got all those weapons, of course, Golden Tate, Kenny Golladay, got Marvin Jones. Actually has a running game now, so the pass rushers can't just pin their ears back and bull rush him every single time, knowing they're not going to be running the ball at all, and they're never going to, run a draw, or they're never going to do anything like that. Kerryon Johnson actually doing pretty well for those guys. So for me, Matthew Stafford, very high on my list for cash. The other guy that I'm considering here, and you're going to laugh at me, is actually Blake Bortles. I mean, look at him coming in at just 5,500 this week right here. Blake Bortles on the road at Kansas City. The Kansas City defense is just nothing to be feared. Leonard Fournette is already ruled out, and in that scenario, Bortles, without Leonard Fournette in the lineup, is a full 70 yards and nearly 3/4 of a touchdown better through the air without Leonard Fournette in the lineup. And, listen, at 5,500 this week, when we get to running backs in just a second, and you see all the talent and smash spots at the running back position we're going to have to pay up for, those savings getting to Blake Bortles at 5,500 is something that I'm really considering. I got to be honest with you. So might be having me some Blake Bortles in cash this week. So yeah, pray for me. And then a little bit further down, no real interest in Baker going up against Baltimore. I had a little bit too much Baker last week. I was caught up in the hype. I just thought he was going to have a really big day against that Raiders defense. I mean, tons of points were scored in that game. He just had too many turnovers when it came down to it. 4 turnovers, and that really limited his ceiling. He's had a decent day. I mean, he got 3x his salary last week, but just nothing that was going to win you a tournament or anything like that. One guy I want to talk about before we get out of here is Russell Wilson. He's down at 5,100. The Rams, 7.5-point favorites on the road at Seattle. If you think that the Rams are going to crush, then obviously you think that Russell Wilson's going to have to be throwing the ball all the time. I know there's going to be some people who want to play Russell Wilson this week, but I mean, look, 9 points against the Cardinals, 15 points against the Cowboys. I mean, he could have more points, obviously, against the Rams. The Rams are going to be scoring a lot and probably pretty fast, so I imagine Seattle will have a lot of opportunities. But at the end of the day, I still like Russell Wilson's weapons. And so what's the ceiling for him? I mean, I guess you could make a case for cash. Is he likely to get you 3x his 51? Yeah, I think he's probably likely to get you the 3x of his 51 here. That being said, in cash these days, I mean, there's a lot of points being scored in the NFL, and especially when there's a lot of points being scored in the NFL, there's a lot of points being scored in DFS. And so I don't know if 3x is going to get it done in head-to-heads. Maybe it'll get it done in 50-50s and double-ups and stuff like that. But, every point counts in head-to-head. You can beat your opponent by 1/4 of a point. So for me, probably not going to go there. I got to be honest with you. I think people are going to want to play Russ because they see Russ down at 5,100. But I mean, what's his ceiling? Who's he going to throw the ball to? I mean, Doug Baldwin's on one knee. He was the guy that came out and said that he's going to be 80% at best all season long. So, yeah, for me, going to take a pass on Russ, even though I'm pretty sure you're going to hear some buzz leading up to Sunday. On the running back side of things, Leonard Fournette out. Gio Bernard is out. Joe Mixon will be back this week. However, even though Gio Bernard is out, Joe Mixon will be back for the Bengals there. And Devonta Freeman will be back for the Falcons, which kind of ruins that whole situation of trying to play a running back in that game that everyone's going to be targeting, because now they're going to have Tevin Coleman, they're going to have Devonta Freeman, and it looks like they want to get Ito Smith involved. Of course, he'll have a lesser role that Freeman is back, but he played 30 snaps this past week. So is he going to go from 30 to 0? I mean, probably not. I mean, even if it's 5 or, even if it's a handful of snaps, 5 to 10 snaps, that's still 5 to 10 snaps that he's taken away from Tevin Coleman or Devonta Freeman. So for me, won't be going to any of those running backs on the Atlanta side of the ball. Todd Gurley, I don't have to tell you, Todd Gurley's a good play. 9,400 though. When it comes to lineup construction this week, how are you going to fit 9,400 in there when you looked at Melvin Gordon, who's a full $800 cheaper? Whenever you look down here at Christian McCaffrey, who's a full $800 cheaper. When you look down here at James Conner, who is a full $7,500 cheaper. Tournament's fine. Go with Gurley all you want to. Cash games, I just think you're going to need that money, and it's just real hard to, whenever you look at the comparisons of what Gordon can bring to the table, what McCaffrey can bring to the table, what Conner can bring to the table, justifying paying $9,400 there. Speaking of Melvin Gordon, $8,600 is the second most expensive running back on the week. Man, you look at this guy and you're just like, dude, how is he continuing to smash week after week? He only played 49 of the 68 snaps last week. Eckler's getting 23, 24, 25 snaps per game. He doesn't have more than 15 rushes in a game so far this season, and all he does is continue to smash. Oh man, I clicked on Gurley. We'll go to Melvin Gordon here. But the reason for that is this, because if you look at his passing game work, it's ridiculous. 7 receptions, 6 receptions, 9 receptions, 13 targets here, 7 targets here, 10 targets here. I mean, just, receiving touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns. The guy's just getting it going through the pass game, and they're just utilizing him so heavily in the pass game. So, look, I've been doubting him. I'm going to quit doubting him. So, no more doubting on him for me. I'm going to play you. I'm going to play you, Melvin Gordon. So, find me in head-to-heads or 50-50s or anything like that. I'm going to have Melvin Gordon this week, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because usually volume is everything to me when it comes to a running back, and a guy only is getting 15 carries a game, but he just continues to smash. So, and against this Oakland team that's giving up, over 5 yards a carry. So let's go, Melvin Gordon. Let's do this. Christian McCaffrey, a guy that probably another guy that I'm going to try to jam into my cash lineups again this week. Christian McCaffrey coming off a bye, like we mentioned with Cam. Of course, he's getting all the work there for Carolina, basically not losing any reps. And then on top of that, he's facing the New York Giants, who just gave up a 44 spot to Alvin Kamara last week. Do I expect another 44 spot out of McCaffrey? No, but 28, 30, it's going to get the job done. And I think that's very well within the realm of possibility against this Giants team here, and especially with the utilization that they have with McCaffrey. So going to be using McCaffrey as well in there. So do we got to team jam them in? Shout out to Adam and Al and Pete for coining that term, team jam them in. But here it is, James Conner, 7,500 against Atlanta. And what have we been doing the last 3 weeks? We've been playing running backs against Atlanta. And what have they done the last 3 weeks? The running backs have gone absolutely insane. So whenever you look at this, I don't see any reason to kind of break that mold. And so Pittsburgh at home, again, in a game with a massive, huge total. 58 is the total in that game. James Conner, man, let's do this. And the only thing that maybe, I think a lot of people think he's going to be just uber mega chalk. And I wonder if people who look at box scores, right, the people who are looking at the game logs might be scared away, which means we might get James Conner a little bit less owned than we think. I mean, I think people were talking as high as 30%. You know, maybe we get it at 20% instead, because if you look here, yeah, week 1 just went absolutely nuts, right? Like 38 DraftKings points, but then dropped to 19, then dropped to 14, then dropped to 9 points this past week. Now, the casual fan probably going to look and say like, oh man, Baltimore, their defense is actually playing like pretty good. You know, they're just going to see the 9 points. And I wonder if that's actually going to play here. I think we get caught up a lot of times in the bubble, and we know that this is a smash spot for James Conner. If you're watching this video, you obviously care enough, and you know that James Conner is a smash play this week against Atlanta. I just wonder if the casual player even knows that. And I wonder if whenever they look at these box scores, if this is something that maybe they go, wow, man, this guy's really not producing. Only had 9 points last week. So maybe not taking into consideration the matchup there. As we mentioned, Joe Mixon is back. 6,900 though, that price is just a little rich for me. I want to see what kind of usage they're going to have with Mixon, to be perfectly honest with you. Honestly, I like the pass catchers better in this game with Cincinnati anyway. Mentioned Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman, nothing. But let's get to my man, David Johnson. David Johnson, DraftKings is daring us again this week to play David Johnson. They dared us last week at 6,600. We did it. What he did was he went out, got 22 rushing attempts and 3 receptions. So he got 25 touches last week. Did go over 100 yards from scrimmage. Price drops here to 6,300. Can the Cardinals get their act together? I want to say something else, but get their act together and friggin' get the ball in David Johnson's hands. Put it in his hands 30 times. What else do you have there? This might finally be the time that Larry Fitzgerald has fallen off a cliff. David Johnson, you just invested in this guy. Put the ball in his hands. Get the ball to David Johnson. He's only 6,300. This guy was 8,800 in week 1. We're sitting here 4 weeks later. The guy went from 8,800 to 6,300. What changed with David Johnson's talent level? Nothing. It's just the team sucks. But they did make a change at quarterback, and maybe someone who's a little bit more competent than Sam Bradford. So probably my favorite tournament play at running back on the week is David Johnson. I think he's going to go overlooked, and I think we're going to, one of these days, we're going to get a smash spot out of David Johnson here, 6,300 this week. Last guy I want to touch on here is TJ Yeldon. We mentioned that Leonard Fournette is already out for the Jaguars. TJ Yeldon is going to step in. He is not on the final injury report, so he's going to be good to go against Kansas City, a game that we expect to have some points scored. I mean, listen, Kansas City's offense is incredibly high powered. Jacksonville, I think, is going to hold them at bay, but there will be points scored. And TJ Yeldon is way down here at 5,600, getting the start here. If Leonard Fournette was 5,600, would you play him? Would he be absolutely in your lineup? Would he be locked in your lineup? Probably, right? So TJ Yeldon, this leaves us in a predicament whenever we're trying to build our lineups here, because we like 4 guys a whole lot. I mean, we like Melvin Gordon, we like Christian McCaffrey, and then we come back over here, we said James Conner is in a smash spot. Well, unfortunately, we can't play 4 running backs, right? So what do? Do we sacrifice Gordon? Do we sacrifice McCaffrey? Do we sacrifice Conner to get TJ Yeldon into our lineup, or are we going to let Yeldon go? The only problem is you come down here and at this running back position and 5,600, right? 5,600. That is $3,000 cheaper than Gordon. Nearly, whatever. You're just looking at this like, man, $3,000 more I could spend on these other positions here. So it's going to be interesting to see how my cash games come together. Maybe one of those rare instances where I run 2 cash lineups out there, one with Yeldon and one without it. So certainly something to consider there. I mean, let's just assume we went with the big 3 here. You see your remaining player average is 4,316. Let's say we take the most expensive guy out of there, plug in Yeldon. Now it goes up to a full 4,800. So, I mean, there's a lot more money to deal with at all these other positions that you've got to fill along the way. So running back position is going to be quite interesting this week. If for any reason you think that the Jaguars are going to really struggle with this Kansas City offense, right? So if you think that that's going to be the case, and you think they're going to have to be playing from behind, then you could take a tournament flyer, I believe. You could come down and take a Corey Grant flyer at 3,700. If you think they're going to be playing from behind, he's going to come in and be part of that, play catch-up offense. He's their big pass-catching back there, pretty elusive. If you watched him play, you can see that he has the potential when he touches the ball to kind of like take it to the house. He's one of those type guys. So 3,700, if you believe Kansas City is going to play very well and Jacksonville might have a chance to struggle and going to be playing from behind in this thing. On the wide receiver side of things, Marvin Jones for Detroit, who I expect to be actually pretty popular, popped up on the injury report on Friday, which, not a great thing when you pop up on the injury report on Friday. He has not been there all week. So definitely going to take a look at him about 90 minutes before kickoff to make sure that he is going to be able to go. Will Fuller, Kiki Cutie, maybe even, I think they were saying is how you pronounce it. Both of those guys questionable for the Texans as well. So Devontae Adams technically listed as questionable, but all the beat writers say it's just precautionary stuff that he's definitely going to go. Antonio Brown, don't have to tell you Antonio Brown is good. What I do have to tell you is that you can scroll down here and Juju Smith-Schuster is 7,500, Antonio Brown is 9,100. That is a $1,600 difference. So do you want to pay $9,100 for Antonio Brown, or do you want to pay $7,500 for Juju Smith-Schuster? When we peel back the curtain a little bit here, and of course, very small sample size, but just want to show you kind of the usage stuff here. When you look, obviously huge target, 16 and 17. Last couple weeks, 9 targets, 11 targets for Antonio Brown. Then we go and we look over here at Juju. Juju has had a massive target. Juju's had a massive target game as well, a 19 target game in week 2. And then he's had 11 and 11, which is actually 2 more targets the past 2 weeks than Antonio Brown has had. Antonio Brown is still the man, don't get me wrong. I just think that the difference between Juju and Antonio Brown is shrinking, and I think we need to recognize that. For me, if I end up paying up at a receiver position in cash this week, I think Juju's the guy. Certainly want a piece of a 58-point total for an offense that I think is going to play well. And I just don't have the money to get to Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown's fine if you want to play him in tournaments, but 9,100, pretty price prohibitive for me, especially in cash games. Julio Jones, games 58 total, right? You want to run it back, you want to run a game stack, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, absolutely go right at it. I told you how much I like Kirk Cousins, which means I'm going to have a lot of Thielen. I'm going to have a lot of Diggs. Thielen and Diggs here coming in at 7,700 and 7,000. I will probably have Cousins Thielen and have 3 or 4 lineups, Cousin Diggs have 3 or 4 lineups, and then have Cousin Thielen Diggs, because that pass concentration for them is so incredibly tight. Like basically everything goes to those 2 guys. There's the occasional flip to Kyle Rudolph. I don't think Aldrick Robinson is going to be a thing. It's going to be Thielen, it's going to be Diggs, and I want to have all of that in a game where I think there's kind of sneaky shootout potential that could go under the radar, this Minnesota-Philadelphia game, with all these other games with these high 50-point totals. So definitely going to be having a ton of Thielen and Diggs here. Already talked about Juju. Look at A.J. Green way the hell down here at 7,200. How is A.J. Green way the hell down here at 7,200? I mean, look, if we take a look at what's going on here, consistency, 8-9, 8-8. We like to see the double-digit targets for a guy at 7,200 for sure. We certainly want to see double-digit targets with A.J. Green, but consistency is good. And whenever we look right here, yardage is good there. He's got us some games here with a lot of touchdowns. He's a touchdown maker. Just a matter of time, right, before we see a 8-catch, 12-target, 130-yard, 2-touchdown game from A.J. Green. I'd rather get that when I'm paying $7,200 for him, if I'm being perfectly honest. So for me, going to have me some A.J. Green this week for sure. Tyreek Hill, man, I understand. Super fast, I get it. I just don't pick on this Jacksonville secondary. I just don't do it. It might burn me this week. If you have Tyreek Hill and you're playing against me and he goes off, then you're going to win all the money. I'm not. That's just the way it is. If I like Matthew Stafford, I got to like his pass catchers, because without his pass catchers, he's not going to be very good. So I like me some Golden Tate this week. We'll certainly have a lot of Detroit stacks with Golden Tate, with Galladay down here at 6,000. And again, we're going to monitor what's going on with Marvin Jones, but look at this absurd price tag at 4,700 on him, right? I mean, it's completely crazy, especially when you look at the consistency here. I mean, 8, 9, 6, 6. He's gotten at least 6 targets in every game, 8 and 9 in the other 2 games. So, yeah, I mean, like 4,700 is just too cheap. Really don't like that he popped up on the injury report late in the week. That said, maybe that red Q will keep people from clicking on his name. And if we find out on Sunday morning he's going, because there are a lot of people who just make lineups and then, you know, that's it. Like they're not checking injury news and different things like that on Sunday morning, and they're certainly not going to put a guy with a question mark next to his name. So maybe it won't be that. Maybe he won't be as chalky now as I think he might have been otherwise. One of the things we just mentioned here is that Geronimo Allison, we already mentioned Randall Cobb is out. Geronimo Allison is questionable in this game. He has not only a hamstring injury, but a concussion thing to go on, all the stuff like that. Doesn't look very likely that he's going to be playing this week. So since he's not likely to play and Cobb is already ruled out, way down here at 3,300, we have Marcus Valdez-Scantling. And he's probably going to be running as the number 2 there for Green Bay. And look, Devontae Adams is going to have Darius Slay on him a lot. And look, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to throw the ball to someone. Sure, Jimmy Graham's going to get some of that. Sure, Ty Montgomery's going to get some of that. But Valdez-Scantling apparently is the next guy in line. And if you're telling me I can get an Aaron Rodgers receiver at 3,300, catching passes from Aaron Rodgers in a game that is likely to have a bunch of scoring in it, you can pretty much sign me up. So, yeah, I'm going to probably have me some Scantling and might even have him in cash if we're being perfectly honest. John Ross is out for Cincinnati. We talked about liking A.J. Green, which creates just even more opportunity for Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd at 5,700. If you watched this last week, I told you I was going to be on Tyler Boyd. We were on Tyler Boyd, and he had another amazing game. Tyler Boyd, 15 targets and 100 yards. That's following a 7-target, 132-yard game, a 9-target, 91-yard game. This guy's just a part of this offense now. We just have to take that into account. And now Tyler Eifert is out for the season. Well, is placed on IR with that ankle injury of his. So John Ross is gone. Tyler Eifert's gone. Tyler Boyd is going to get his. Tyler Boyd will probably likely again be in my cash lineups this week. Right here next to him is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley had another good week this past week, but listen, this is one thing I just want to, I'm not going to say Calvin Ridley's a bad play. What I am going to say is let's just look at the situation here. He's all the way up to 5,800, and he played 38 of 70 snaps this past week. Mohamed Sanu played 55 of 70. He's still running as the wide receiver 3 by a pretty decent margin here. He's just been incredibly efficient. I'm not saying that's going to end. I'm not saying they might decide, you know what? Wow, he's more talented than Mohamed Sanu, and this would be the game that he flip-flops, and maybe he's the run running the 55 and Sanu's running the 38. But all we have to go by is what we've seen so far, and he is consistently running as the wide receiver 3 there. So not in cash consideration for me at all. Probably be a part of some game stacks and things like that. I just wanted to make sure that we're aware that he is still not really the wide receiver 2 there for Atlanta. One of the guys I'm going to be looking at pretty hard as well, and I'm probably going to have to look at him in cash if I want to play the 3 big running backs, if I want to play the 3 most expensive running backs, those guys that we really like in Gordon, McCaffrey, and Connor, is Taywan Taylor. Taywan Taylor, of course, Rashard Matthews said, check you later, I quit. I don't want to play for this team anymore. So he left the Tennessee Titans, which opens up more targets out there for Taywan Taylor. Now, look, we had a Corey Davis sighting last week. 15 targets, 9 receptions, went for like 160 yards and things like that. That said, look, they're playing Buffalo. If Buffalo is going to have Trey White pay a lot of attention to one of their receivers, it's going to be Corey Davis. Tre'Davious White can play. Like, Tre'Davious White's like the one shining spot there for Buffalo. Really, really good cover corner. So I expect a lot more stuff to funnel to Taywan Taylor. He's only $4,000. When you take a look here, got 9 targets last week for 77 yards. We figured that his role was going to increase with the way that this has gone, right? So here we are. We've got Taywan Taylor at 9 targets and 77 yards. He costs $4,000 coming into this week in a situation where we think that one of the better cover corners is going to be covering the other receiver. So what do you do if you're Marcus Mariota? You probably looked at Taywan Taylor, right? So Taywan Taylor is at $4,000. Taywan Taylor is probably going to have to find his way into my cash lineups if I want those very, very expensive running backs. Over to tight end, the news here, Evan Ingram still out for the Giants. And of course, we mentioned Tyler Eifert out for the Bengals. So that leads us to the upper end guys that I'm never going to tell you are bad plays because they're not. They're awesome plays. Zach Ertz is the number one receiver for Philadelphia out of anything, not the number one tight end, the number one receiver, period. Travis Kelce, double-digit targets, I believe, the last 3 weeks, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 10, 10, and 12. So double-digit targets for Travis Kelce the last 3 weeks. I imagine that'll keep up. And if you're trying to avoid Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye, then, on the outside there, then you go to Travis Kelce, right? So maybe Travis Kelce becomes kind of the guy who shines there for Kansas City, and especially if you think they're going to do well. Travis Kelce is going to have to do well in that situation too. You can have Kittle if you want to. I just don't think there's going to be enough scoring opportunities for the San Francisco team. 5,400 is just a little rich for my blood. If you look at the game log watcher is going to look and be like, oh man, he had 120 yards or whatever last week. Well, one of that came on an 85-yard catch. I'm not saying you can't have 80-yard catches. It happens. It's not going to happen very often. So play Kittle if you want to. I probably won't. I think I'd rather save the money, the 5,400 down to 48, and go to Jared Cook, especially from a tournament aspect, right? And that's what we're doing. I'm not looking at any of these guys in cash. And so if you look at Jared Cook, he's basically like your quintessential tournament play. If you look at how he goes, so he's got a game of 30 points, a game of 8 points, another game of 8 points, and a game of 34 points. So we know his floor and we know his ceiling. His floor is about 8 points and his ceiling is over 30. So this guy can literally go out there and put up a 30-point game for you at 4,800, right? So I think in a tournament situation where if you expect the Chargers to play well in this game, then Oakland will be playing from behind yet again, and then Oakland is going to be throwing the ball, and Jared Cook is going to get his. And so we know his floor, we know his ceiling. I like that ceiling at 30 points. I'm going to have exposure to him in tournaments, but I typically just go as cheap as I can possibly go at tight end and still feel comfortable with workload, and that's probably going to be Vance McDonald this week. I know I've mentioned a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're just a lot to love, right? This Atlanta defense is absolutely crushed. Best linebacker, 2 safeties gone, all kinds of injuries on the defensive side of the ball for them. Middle of the field, wide open. That's why we love playing the running backs against them. And then, look, the tight end is going to get his. And look, McDonald's only 3,700, right? So probably looking toward him when we're talking about cash games, probably going to have a decent amount of him. Don't hate David Njoku. I think he can only go up with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. But again, not that much of a difference in price between him and McDonald. I still lean McDonald there. If you really want to punt, we mentioned that Tyler Eifert's out for the season. Both of his backup tight ends are listed at 2,900. We don't really know which one is going to be the guy. Some beat writers are saying it's going to be Uzoma. Some of them saying it's going to be Croft. We don't really know, but they're exact same price. So you could build a lineup with both these guys in there and then just duplicate the lineup and switch the tight ends out. So you could, if you really want to play one of these punt tight ends, just enter one of the cheap tournaments, run the exact same lineup and just flip the tight end. Have one with Croft, one with Uzoma, and then that way, if one of them happens to go off, if one of them happens to end up being the guy, well, you'll have the guy, and they're exact same price. So pretty nice of DraftKings to do that for us, that we were able to, we can do that with those guys. And finally, looking here at the defenses, Tennessee, of course, going up against Buffalo. Like anyone going up against Buffalo every single week, problem, $4,000. Maybe you can find the money. I don't know if I can. I'm going to try to. I'm damn sure going to try to. Just don't know if you're going to be able to find the money there for that. So we come down a little bit further. Certainly think that San Francisco is in play. I don't like the defense in general. I just like the matchup. Again, Arizona is just clueless, right? They're just completely clueless. We think even if David Johnson gets his, right? He scores 2 touchdowns. They're only score 14 points. You think Josh Rosen is going to just lead them to, this crazy 40-point day or something like that and go nuts? Probably not. He's probably going to get strip sacked one time. He's probably going to throw a pick. Not necessarily that I like San Francisco's defense. It's just the opponent, playing the opponent in that one. I think it's pretty interesting to play Baltimore against Cleveland here at 2,800. Again, I like Baker Mayfield, but we saw last week. He's he's a rookie, right? And he's capable of turning the ball over. And so Baltimore's defense has been playing well. They get Jimmy Smith back as well this week. So Jimmy Smith could be, for a defense that's already playing well, they get bolstered by getting him back. So like me some Baltimore there at 2,800. I like the Jets against Denver. Case Keenum just continues to throw picks. Like, the guy just continues to turn the ball over. And if a guy continues to put himself in situations turning the ball over, then I want some of that defense, because that gives us a chance for these, weird strip sack fumble things where they pick it up and fall in the end zone, or a pick six or whatever in the hell it might be. Of course, this is a bad spot for Denver as well, right? Like, coming off a Monday night game, flying across the country to go over the Jets, a game that basically ripped their souls out, basically a game that, they had won and they just lost it. And they had it won again in case Keenum missed the pass to win the game again. So looking there at the Jets defense at 2,600, probably about as low as I'm going to go this week, is going to be that Jets defense. Probably will have a lot of Jets, probably will have a lot of Ravens. And if I find some money, the Titans will be pretty great at 4,000. So I think I'll be going there as well. Guys, really good luck this week. Hope everything turns out well. Hope we have another really good, profitable week like we did last week. I think I like the pieces that are kind of coming together here whenever we start putting these lineups together. Again, there will be decisions to be made, especially at the running back position, especially in cash games at the running back position. I definitely think it's a 3 running back week, because there are 4 that I really like. So if that's the case, then it's probably a 3 running back week for me. Where I land, it's going to just kind of see how the news breaks and how things go. I would suggest building 2 versions of your cash game lineup. One with, or maybe even several versions of it with a mixture of all the guys, and see which one just turns out to be the best for you there, which one you like the best, and roll with that one for sure. If you are new to DFS, if you are new to DraftKings, if you live in the New Jersey area, New York, Pennsylvania, something like that, if you're new to sports betting, head to playpicks.com/bonus or /bonus or /bonus or whatever. I mean, whatever. I guess we can just call it a slash. It's it's the slash bonus, BONUS. That has all of our sign up bonus offers, all of our promo code offers, all of our free money offers. If you're, like I said, if you're in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York area, stuff like that, we have a free $25 at DraftKings Sportsbook. We have it free $10 at 888 Sportsbook. So all you got to do is sign up for an account using our link, and you will get that money in your account. No deposit required whatsoever, none. And you'll be able to bet for free. Pretty awesome. Guys, appreciate you being here. Good luck here in week 5. We'll be back for week 6.